Thanks to the incompetence of Donald Trump, his boss Elon Musk, and MAGA Republicans in Congress, the U.S. government is on the verge of a painful and unnecessary shutdown. And as we speak, the floor of the United States House of Representatives has exploded into chaos as members of Congress on both sides of the aisle are screaming and heckling one another in a furious debate about the government shutdown. But Democrats are winning. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to talk about because this is going on as we speak, and it may be going on for hours yet still. So I'm play you a smattering of clips from the chaos on the floor of the House of Representatives as Republicans and Democrats debate this latest Republican effort at government funding legislation after they walked away from bipartisan legislation, when Trump and Elon Musk killed the effort. And I actually want to start with this clip here of a Republican, Chip Roy, a Republican congressman from Texas, who actually calls out his own party for their own fiscal irresponsibility.
Fact of the matter is, $330 billion. Congratulations, you've added to the debt since you were given the majority again on November 5th. It's embarrassing. It's shameful. Yes, I think this bill is better than it was yesterday on certain respects, but to take this bill yesterday and congratulate yourself because it's shorter in pages but increases the debt by $5 trillion is asinine. And that's precisely what Republicans are doing. I am absolutely sickened by a party that campaigns on fiscal responsibility and has the temerity to go forward to the American people and say, you think this is fiscally responsible. It is absolutely ridiculous.
Now, I should say, before we play this next clip, that this is the same Chip Roy who has earned the wrath of Donald Trump, well, multiple times, but actually earlier today as well. Donald Trump is not happy. Trump wrote 2 posts attacking Chip Roy. The very unpopular congressman from Texas, Chip Roy, is getting in the way, as usual, of having yet another great Republican victory, all for the sake of some cheap publicity for himself. Republican obstructionists have to be done away with. The Democrats are using them, and we can't let that happen. Our country is far better off closing up for a period of time than it is agreeing to the things that the Democrats want to force upon us. Biden is president, and it's his obligation to lead. We're there to do the right thing, and we can't agree with what Biden and the Democrats are demanding. Weak and ineffective people like Chip have to be dismissed as being utterly unknowledgeable as to the ways of politics and as to making America great again. Put America first and go for the victory, even if it means shutting down the government for a period of time. We had an overwhelming victory just 4 weeks ago, and we're not going to let the Democrats forget it so quickly. Chip Roy is just another ambitious guy with no talent. By the way, how's Bob Good doing? I hope some talented challengers are getting ready in the great state of Texas to go after Chip in the primary. He won't have a chance. So it's bad enough that Donald Trump is publicly threatening Chip Roy for daring to criticize his own party and daring to criticize the party under Donald Trump and Trump's boss, Elon Musk. So food for thought, we're seeing some MAGA infighting in real time. Here's some other clips as well.
1 minute to the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Moskowitz.
The gentleman from Florida is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, denial is not just a river in Egypt. Let's talk about the last 2 years. It was the Democrats who raised the debt ceiling, not the Republicans last time. Many of you voted against it. It was the Democrats who kept over the government, not once, not twice, but every single time we needed to keep the government open, it was the Democrats who kept the government open. More of us voted for it than you. And all I've heard for the last couple of weeks about it, this giant mandate, landslide, trifecta. Put on your big boy pants, pass your own bill. We're only here because you guys can't agree amongst yourselves.
That's right.
So hold on a second. Democrats will keep government open for the American people. We will mediate the disagreements between that side of the room and that side of the room. We will do that for you, but you got to at least invite us to that meeting. So if you want us to solve your problem because you can't agree amongst yourselves, reach out. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Time is expired.
So that's Jared Moskowitz, moderate congressman from Florida, well known for his wit, well known for dunking on Republicans as well he should, pointing out the Democrats actually have a vastly superior record of keeping the government funding and raising the debt ceiling so as to avoid domestic and international total economic disaster, and they're able to do that even when Republicans are nominally in charge. So great on Moskowitz to point out that the Republicans just objectively suck at this and need to do better. Another clip.
They write the bill. They post the bill. They agreed on a bill.
They signed it.
And you know what? They got scared because President Musk told them, President Musk said, don't do it. Don't do it. Shut the government down. Imagine. What does he know about what people go through is when the government shuts down? Are his employees furloughed? Hell no. Is he furloughed? No. And when you shut the government down, people don't get paid. And maybe if none of us got paid if the government shut down, some people on the other side of the aisle would feel differently.
And it's important to note, members of Congress still get paid during a government shutdown. The military doesn't, Border Patrol doesn't, DSA doesn't, air traffic controllers don't. But members of Congress, including the Republicans who reneged on the initial bipartisan deal and are looking to try to screw over the rest of the country, they're going to be paid just fine. I want to play you a couple of clips of radical MAGA Republican Congresswoman from Florida, Anna Paulina Luna, who actually supported, believe it or not, the bipartisan government funding bill, and was even upset when people were torpedoing it, right? Because it included precious disaster relief necessary for her district and her state. But of course, being a MAGA Republican till the end, she is now throwing her weight behind this aborted effort and is doing everything in her power to try to prop it up. Just shameless, naked, cynical partisanship that is indefensible. And I'll play you a couple of these clips because she gets heckled for some of the lies that she tells during her speech.
Mr. Speaker, I've never actually voted for a CR, but I'm here today because I realize that the plan that's on the table currently to keep our government open, but also the promise from the only president in my lifetime who's ever followed through on all of his campaign promises to the American people. Excuse me, I'm not done talking. Give me the same respect we give you guys.
The House will come to order.
So just had to play that one there. That's pretty funny because, of course, Anna Paulina Luna suggests that Donald Trump keeps his campaign promises. He campaigned on building a wall. It didn't happen. He said the wall that he didn't build would be paid by Mexico. That didn't happen. He said he would get us out of Afghanistan. That didn't happen. He said he would allow Medicare to negotiate prescription drug prices. That didn't happen. He said he would pass an infrastructure law. That didn't happen. He said he not only wouldn't add to the national debt, he would actually wipe out all the debt he'd inherited, and this will come up later, but he added $8 trillion in a 4-year term, which is the single greatest contribution. So Donald Trump has broken one promise after another and is less legislatively and executively successful than President Biden. That is why Anna Paulina Luna was just mocked as ruthlessly as she was. Here's another clip.
Pulled it from the floor, which is why we are here today. The deal on the table will keep the government open for the American people, and if you guys so choose to shut it down, it will be on you, but not the Republican Party. We will not be going back to the table. This deal stands as it is, so let you go back home on Christmas and explain to your people why you shut down the government, because we won't be doing it.
She's smirking there, which is kind of funny for a couple of reasons. Number one, Republicans don't control all of government yet. So even if by some miracle this passes the House, it would need to make it through the Senate, which is controlled by Democrats. It would also need, 60 votes. It would need a supermajority to get through. And then it would have to be signed into law by a Democratic president. So what Anna Paulina Luna is hoping here is that she can persuade the American people that Republicans get to be the tail that wags the dog and that the rest of government should form around a slim Republican majority in the House, and that Democrats should just take what Republicans give them. Seems very unlikely, especially if Democrats stay on the ball on their messaging, because historically speaking, when Republicans shut down the government, as they did under President Clinton because of Newt Gingrich, as they did under President Obama because of Mitch McConnell, as they did under Donald Trump because of Trump's own incompetence, as they've now threatened to do under President Biden, no matter who's in the White House, Republicans have been blamed for it. That is hopefully a tradition that will continue, that no matter who's in the White House, the American people are persuaded that when Republicans, either in the majority or the minority, obstruct government functions and cause a government shutdown, Republicans are blamed for it. So historically speaking, the odds are against Anna Paulina Luna here. Now I want to show you several clips from the Democratic leader, the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries. This is what he had to say in a barn burner speech about this new Republican, Musk and Trump approved government legislation, because there's a lot of bad shit in it.
On behalf of the American people, it was a Republican drafted bill that was posted by House Republicans. And then one or two puppet masters weigh in, and the extreme MAGA Republicans decide to do the bidding of the wealthy, the well-off, the well-connected, millionaires and billionaires, not working-class people all across America. The bill that is before us today is just part of an effort to shut down the government. Unless we, as representatives of the American people, bend to the will of just a handful of millionaires and billionaires, because the provisions in this bill, particularly as it relates to suspending the debt ceiling for 2 years, are designed to bring about a massive tax cut, unpaid for wealthy donors and for wealthy corporations, for millionaires and billionaires who clearly some in this Congress are working for. And this bill is validation for it. Now, what's been interesting to me is that for decades, the Republican Party has lectured America about fiscal responsibility, about the debt and the deficit. It's always been phony. This bill proves it.
And he's going to get into it, okay? Again, great delivery by Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democrats in the House of Representatives. We're going to play a couple more clips from his speech.
The one thing we do know is that every time a Republican president comes into office, the one thing we can count on Republicans to do is to pass a massive tax cut for wealthy Americans, and in the process, stick working-class Americans with the bill by raising the deficit and the debt.
He's right. We've talked about this. Modern American history has been a just endless shopping spree from profligate Republicans, profligate conservatives who claim to be fiscally responsible, when the fact of the matter is Democrats, who have a reputation of being high spenders, and indeed they are in many respects, but they're more fiscally responsible than Republicans, and the stuff they're spending money on is much more valuable than a tax cut for the uber rich in this country, like Elon Musk, Donald Trump's boss, who need it the least.
And then Donald Trump comes to office and again follows the same exact playbook. After failing to take health care away from millions of Americans, the Republicans turned their attention to the GOP tax scam, where 83% of the benefits went to the wealthiest 1%. Why? To subsidize the lifestyles of the rich and shameless. And in the process of doing that, borrowed $2.3 trillion added to our debt.
He's right. And that happened before COVID. Trump effectively added $2 trillion to the debt. Remember, promising that he not only wouldn't add a penny to the debt, he would wipe out all the debt he'd inherited from President Obama all the way back. He failed.
In our nation's 248-year history, 25% of our nation's debt was accumulated during the 4 years of the former president. 25%. How dare you lecture America about fiscal responsibility, ever? And then President Biden comes to office, gets big things done for the American people on infrastructure, on the CHIPS and Science Act, standing up a clean energy economy, rescuing America from a once-in-a-century pandemic, gets all of these big things done, partnering with House Democrats and Senate Democrats. And in the process, in his first 2 years, reduces the deficit by $1.7 trillion. And so we see a very clear pattern. The facts speak for themselves. Democrats are the party of getting things done and fiscal responsibility. Republicans are the party of massive tax cuts for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected.
Brilliant. He's so damn good at this, and he's correct. I love the fact we should be talking about this so much more often because reputationally and in terms of polls, Republicans enjoy an advantage with respect to the economy and the perception of being fiscally responsible. But the truth is the exact opposite. Donald Trump added more to the debt, twice as much to the debt compared to President Biden, even if you control for COVID. It's absurd, especially for a party that brands itself as being fiscally responsible, fiscally conservative. Just at least admit that you're profligate. Then we can dispute, then we can have a debate over whether or not your spending priorities are better than ours. Spoiler alert, they're not, which is why the economy tends to do better under Democrats compared to Republicans. But again, I digress. Great performance by Hakeem Jeffries, but some more clips as well.
That has been cut out of this legislation. Why would you do that? Why would you eliminate funding for community health centers? That impacts the heartland of America, urban America, rural America, suburban America, small town America, Appalachia. Why would you cut out funding for community health centers? We're fighting for those everyday Americans. That's why we're opposed to this legislation.
So in these clips, Hakeem Jeffries is going to be talking about the things that were taken out of this new version, this MAGA version of the continuing resolution, like funding for community health centers. There's some more along this line.
Why would you cut funding for nutritional assistance for children in America, for seniors in America, for veterans in America? Why would you do that? This bill cuts funding for nutritional assistance that had previously been agreed upon, and that's why we're opposed to this legislation.
So good at this. He's so good at this. Nutritional assistance for children being cut. Gross. Now, this one that he's about to talk about, this one has made national headlines already, with people already taking all kinds of rhetorical shots at Elon Musk, richly deserved, I might add, talking about how the richest man in the world cut, by his own machinations, he effectively cut funding into research for children's cancer.
This legislation actually cuts a program that was designed to help children and their parents detect cancer. Cruelty is the point. Why would you eliminate that program? We're going to fight for the children of America.
$190 million taken out of the initial bipartisan spending effort, all to satisfy Donald Trump and Elon Musk. It really is, as Hakeem Jeffries says, that the cruelty is the point. One last clip from Hakeem Jeffries, the conclusion of his speech, summarizing the awfulness of this new proposed non-bipartisan, strictly partisan funding legislation that is almost certainly dead on arrival in the House and will die an ugly death in the Senate and at the hands of President Biden.
But we've laid out the challenges with this bill, the phoniness in claiming that extreme MAGA Republicans are about working class Americans, are the party of fiscal responsibility. Nothing could be further from the truth. When you run up the debt and the deficit, middle class families pay, working class families pay, and we are going to defend them. House Democrats are going to continue to fight for working families, middle class families, all those who aspire to be part of the middle class, for the children of America, for the seniors of America, for the unions in America, for the veterans of America, for the least, the lost, and the left behind, for the poor, the sick, and the afflicted. We are going to continue to fight for everyday Americans. That is why we are voting no on this bill, and to stop this reckless, regressive, and reactionary Republican shutdown, vote no.
Phenomenal speech by Hakeem Jeffries. And I'm looking away because we actually just got some breaking news, but after all of this chaos on the floor of the House, this bill, this Trump-backed, Trump-supported bill, the one that Trump is celebrating, went to the floor of the House of Representatives for a vote. It needed a 2/3 supermajority. It won't even get a majority. It failed. The Republican government funding and debt ceiling bill is failing on the House floor. Nearly every Democrat is voting no. Several dozen Republicans are voting no despite Trump whipping a yes vote. It won't get a majority, let alone the 2/3 it needs. And he posts Donald Trump's success in Washington. Speaker Mike Johnson and the House have come to a very good deal for the American people, as we read in the very beginning. This bill failed. Donald Trump has failed. Now, Democrats need to continue to press their advantage, force Republicans back to the negotiating table for a bipartisan effort, and humiliate Donald Trump every step of the way. If this succeeds, it will be exclusively because of Democrats and their superiority. And if it fails and the government shuts down, it will be entirely the fault of bad faith MAGA Republicans, Donald Trump, and his boss, Elon Musk. Food for thought. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.